Wonderful that you're watching. It's such an honor for us to present an interview with the one and only Dr. Robert Cialdini, known for his world-famous book on influence and persuasion, of course. And I'm also joined by the CMO of AFAS, Martijn de la Haye. And CMO is not a word you actually use here.
No, that makes us big. We want to be great, not big.
Okay, excellent. And you're really keen on informality.
Yeah.
So that's also a Dutch trait. Yes. Maybe you've noticed that because you've come here for 15 years already.
Yes.
So, but times have changed. We are now post-COVID. So we see that people meet less in person, but more digitally. How do you see that it has an impact on having an influence on somebody?
The more personalized we can make our messages, the more personalized we can make the exchanges, the more people want what we have and who we are, because they miss that. They miss the connection. And so to the extent that we can arrange for this, I saw some interesting research that showed that if you make a request of someone, the very same request, face to face, you get 8 times more assent than if you make it by email. And in the middle is a phone call or a video call between those two. But it's the same request, but in person there are connections and feelings and empathy and so on that drive the success significantly.
But I'm curious, is that also because people are sometimes watching their own eyes on the screen of watching other people and not making a connection with their eyes, for example?
It could be, but I think it's
really
a broader thing.
Yeah,
it's really a person to person rather than eye to eye.
Yeah. Well, this is like key in your strategy at AFAS, because you want the building, the offices, really to be an experience. Can you elaborate on that?
As a tech company, it's very easy to believe in your product. We are a people company, so this building is built about the experience to be a host in the life of our customers. And if you look at what we do today with a lot of inspiration and a lot of people give us the credit for Dr. Cialdini for being here today. So that's something we can benefit from.
Yeah. You know, I saw an interesting study of online success of various kinds of commercial sites. And one of the things that people online will struggle with is using the liking principle. How do we get warmth? How do we get connection when it's digital? And one of the things that worked in these sites was simply to have a welcoming message at the outset on your landing page, just to welcome people the way you would into your home. And that significantly increased conversions to that site's products and services.
Because that's pleasurable associations. That's one thing to have an influence. Now, we talked about the AFAS building. They have something that's so very wonderful. It's a scented candle. It smells really good. Unfortunately, we don't have a smell TV. But it's by AFAS and in cooperation with the local florist. What could you say about influence?
Wonderful.
About a small thing like this?
It is scent is one of the fundamental features, one of our senses, and that to have a pleasurable, positive reaction to something in an environment like this one that generated that candle and that scent, everything is more positive in our view as a result.
Just like a simple thing as a smile.
A smile, a scent, something like that. We get very primal. We get to the fundamental kinds of responses that people have made as part of the species, not just the situation that they're in, but something even deeper than that.
We're sitting here by the fire, so that's a very primitive
way
to...
We had a challenge, and we deliver our software to corporations, organizations, and that is like a shell of people. And the challenge was, how can we invent a small a present, a gift, that people will put on their desk or even further, on their toilet at home.
And see it every
We
day.
see it every day.
Yeah, and smell, and if you smell and you go to the toilet at home, our company has, and you have to be humble about that, we are entering the home of our customers. So that is something to be proud of, but also be aware of, because we also talked about the ethics of your 7 principles. And
Yes,
I'm
very
very
important.
curious in that, how you see the shift in ethical behavior, especially in our line of business in online marketing.
I think it involves a differentiation between influence and manipulation of these principles. To influence someone in a way that is not only acceptable, I think commendable, is to point to the presence of that principle in a particular situation. If there's true scarcity there, you are honestly informing people of something they want to know. Oh, if I don't move at this point, I'll lose it. If there's true authority and you show that experts have testified to the, if I'm a consumer, I want to know what the experts are saying. So if people are giving me access to one or another of the principles by simply pointing to it rather than manufacturing it or fabricating it or counterfeiting it or exaggerating it, then I am informed into a sense. I'm educated into my response, and I appreciate that. That's the ethical way to do it, and it's the way to build long-term relationships.
And can you feel it if it's not authentic?
I think you can. However, if you are fooled, we now have a tool that allows us to check on the validity of what we are told, and that is the internet.
Yeah.
We have all these ratings, we have all these chat groups, we have all this information online that people will tell us about in a previous interaction that they've had with this organization. And if they feel cheated, if they feel that they were treated dishonestly, you will hear about it, and then those people will tell their friends. You get a lot more word of mouth about something that's gone wrong than something that's gone right.
So these are universal principles. It's still your work. It's been here for decades, but it's now more than ever like a sort of a Bible for online marketeers.
Absolutely.
But how can it be so valuable after all these years?
You know, this is a
38
question.
years ago.
Yeah, wow.
1984.
Yes,
I was 10.
1984 when I first wrote it. And there was no internet then, and there was no online commerce. And people will ask me a version of your question. How did you look forward and see what was going to be effective in cyberspace? I didn't look forward. I looked back at the factors that had always influenced human behavior in an influence exchange. These were these fundamental principles, the universal principles that are part of the human condition. And they will make a difference no matter what the format is or the platform is or the medium is.
But can you state that there is one principle that works better online than others, or is it just universal?
There was a study done of 6,700 online commercial sites, and they looked at 29 different factors. And I'm very happy to say that the top factors were the principles of influence. But inside that list, scarcity was at the top. And then social proof, and then authority. So you can actually look at the extent to which each of the principles will spur people into action.
So we talked about the medium. Can you respond to that?
Yeah, we have a lot of young colleagues here, Gen Z, millennials. They live in a rapidly changing world.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for them?
Yeah.
Because I can imagine that the world is sometimes a scary place for them.
Yes, and so the way they deal with that is to be sure that they don't miss anything. There's a stage in life when you're below 30 or so, where you're always looking to make sure that you've understood the world around you, you've understood yourself, and so on. And so they don't want to miss anything. You know this acronym FOMO, fear of missing out, that applies to the younger generation especially. So as a marketer, if that's your target group, you'll want to use scarcity and the possibility of losing out on something. That will trigger the motivations for the younger people. Turns out if you're over 50, there's another principle that works most powerfully. It's commitment and consistency. They look back at what they have committed themselves to, what they've learned is the thing that is valuable to them, and they will be consistent with their previous behavior.
And then they're old enough to look back on that.
Yes, that's right.
So if we're talking about relationship building, is there a specific order where you can use principles best?
Yes, and I think there are. I actually have a colleague, Dr. Gregory Neidert, who has developed a core model of influence, where he says certain of the principles work best at different stages of the relationship. At the beginning of the relationship, when your task is to move people to feel more warm towards you, to feel a sense of connection and rapport and so on, you want to use liking. You'll want to use reciprocation because you're giving something first to people. You'll want to use unity. Those are the principles at the outset of the relationship that are most successful. After you've got that feeling of rapport, now you want to reduce uncertainty in the eyes of your audience that you are the right partner for them. You have the right products or service. And the two principles that most work there are authority. If I know that the experts are doing this, I can reduce my uncertainty that this is the right thing for me to do. And the other is social proof. If I know that all my peers love this film or this new restaurant or this new piece of software, then I don't have to judge and juggle and calibrate and think. No, this has already reduced my uncertainty.
It speaks for itself. Yeah.
It works.
Yeah.
Then I should choose it. And then there's a last stage. After you've gotten rapport, after you've gotten reduced uncertainty, you still have to get action.
And then the scarcity comes in.
Scarcity and commitment and consistency. If you can say, if you don't move now, you'll be out of luck. That's scarcity. So it gets people to move. The other is, you've already made a commitment to this. So all you have to do now is act to be consistent with the commitment that you've made. And those are the two that spur people into action.
Wonderful, thanks.
Very nice.
So from a marketing perspective from AFAS, how do you listen to this?
Well, we built our war machine, as we call it. We have an entertainment machine and a war machine, and they cooperate.
Love and
because the war machine has to convert. We cannot sugarcoat it. But the entertainment machine facilitates the war machine, and those two have to cooperate. And there, all the lessons of Mr. Cialdini are embedded every day. We question ourselves, how can we do it better? Not with big plans, but with small steps and percentages. We want to grow every day.
Maybe a nice example is that you're a family-run company, but you also aim for family-run companies as a client. Yeah. So this is something that creates unity instantly, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Because you share the same values. You don't look at share value, shareholders' value, but you look at how can we provide this world? How can we provide for the lives and families of our employees and customers?
Best example, right?
Beautiful example.
And we hope that we can be great and not big. We hope that we can grow, but not at expense of the nature and the lives of our customers. So today was a very big inspirational day for me. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much for this conversation, Dr. Robert Cialdini and Martijn de la Haye. And thank you so much for watching.